Chapter 2071. At this time, even if the master of Celestial Palace was reluctant, there was nothing he could do. They had to help the people of Beast-Taming King's Valley. Hearing his words, the group of disciples of Beast-Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wailed even louder. Facing the attacks of the blood-colored figures, the group of people felt an indescribable despair in their hearts at the abandonment of the higher-ups. From time to time, no one thought of resisting, but at this time, they were already doing their best to deal with the attacks of the blood-colored figures. There was simply no way to resist or deal with Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others. They could only watch helplessly as they abandoned them and left. The group of disciples of Beast-Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace never thought that. They had been laughing and laughing as they watched the people of those forces being intercepted and left to die. In the end, retribution came so quickly. Those people of those forces didn't die much. They had been abandoned by the higher-ups. They had replaced the role of those people of those forces. They had become cannon fodder. The group of disciples of Beast-Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace wailed loudly, their faces filled with indescribable despair. However, Beast-Taming King Guguju and the others didn't turn back to look at them. Taking advantage of them holding back the blood-colored figures that were rushing over, Beast-Taming King Guguju and Celestial Palace's higher-ups rushed in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others at an extremely fast speed. The latter and the others were already approaching the cave. The surrounding blood-colored figures were getting fewer and fewer. It seemed that there were no more blood-colored celestial jade bones in the vicinity of the cave. When Luo Qingtong and the others were about 100 meters away from the entrance of the cave, all the blood-colored figures had disappeared. The blood-colored figures that had been killed and blocked by Luo Qingtong and the others behind them. When Luo Qingtong and the others entered within 100 meters of the cave, they were shocked. They no longer rushed in this direction to attack them. Instead, they stood 100 meters away from the cave. It let out a sharp roar at them, emitting sound waves that ordinary people couldn't hear. It was clear that they did not dare to approach this place. Seeing this, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. Her gaze swept across the hole in front of her, which seemed to be flickering with an indistinct light, as the bloody light in her eyes flickered intensely. It was at this moment that the Beast-Taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others abandoned their disciples and rushed over to the scene. Soon he rushed behind Luo Qingtong and the others. "Bitch, let's see where you can run to this time." The Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master looked indescribably ferocious. They had abandoned a group of elite disciples. This debt must be repaid with blood by Luo Qingtong. Seeing the Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others rushing over, the people from the various forces were instantly flustered. "What should we do? Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others are coming." Everyone's hearts were indescribably panicked. Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others were the top experts of the first-rate sects. Moreover, they were the top experts of the hidden world. Among the people from the various forces, the strongest was only in the Sage Emperor realm. Even if there were many people, they were absolutely no match for them. Seeing the group of Beast-Tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace's upper echelons rushing over, the people from the various forces suddenly trembled. Miss Tong? Chapter 2072. However, there were no longer any traces of those blood-red figures around. What was Luo Qingtong going to use to deal with Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others? Rush into that cave? Who knew if there was a path inside? Even if there was a path, with the strength of Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others, it was enough to catch up with them and kill them all before they could leave. The crowd never thought that Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others would catch up with them so quickly. The other party was really more than a little ruthless. They were even willing to abandon their own sect's elite disciples. The crowd thought in their hearts unspeakable fear and terror. At this moment, Beast-Tamer King Guguju's voice rang out. "Everyone who is on Luo Qingtong's side, leave immediately. I'll spare your lives." Beast-Tamer King Guguju's expression was ruthless. Naturally, he said this not because he was merciful and wanted to let these people off. It was because Luo Qingtong would no longer use these people to cause trouble. These people were helping Luo Qingtong, wasn't it because the other two sects wanted to kill them and send them to their deaths? Now that he let them off, he didn't believe that they wouldn't leave in this desperate situation. Luo Qingtong, this bitch, without these people to rely on, he wanted to see what she could do. This time he must kill her here. He would never allow this person who spied on their sect's secrets to live. What did Beast-Tamer King Guguju say? "He's going to let us go." The crowd was in an uproar. Beast-Tamer King Guguju's words were too attractive to them. Even if they knew that even if they left, the other party might not let them go after they left the land of the deceased immortals. But that was a matter for the future, wasn't it? What's more, when they left the land of the deceased immortals, they could completely unite and form an alliance. No matter which first-class sect they joined in the future, they could negotiate with Beast Tamer King Valley and survive. It was better than dying here now. Everyone's hearts were shaken as they thought this. They looked at Luo Qingtong in the middle of them. At this moment, Yunshi grabbed Luo Qingtong's sleeve and stood up, saying, "You can't be so ungrateful. If it wasn't for Qingtong, you would have all died under the conspiracy of Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace. Have you forgotten who saved you just now? What's the difference between abandoning her and going back on your word?" The Beast Tamer King Valley and the others were in front of the cave. Qingtong was the cave. As long as these people were willing to protect Luo Qingtong and rush into the cave, they could also threaten the Beast Taming King's Valley to let them leave. Thinking of this, Yunshi was very anxious. She desperately tried to persuade the people of the various forces. But the latter and the others had been bewitched by Beast Tamer King Guguju's promise. In the case of Hope, who cared whether Luo Qingtong was dead or alive? They had made a deal with Luo Qingtong just because they wanted to leave this place. Now that Beast Tamer King Guguju had promised to let them go, why should they continue to fight to the death with the other party? Chapter 2073. The crowd snorted coldly at Yunshi. "Humph, what do you mean by ungrateful? It's just a deal between us and Luo Qingtong. We keep her safe and she keeps us safe. Isn't that right? We've already fulfilled our promise. Don't make it sound like we owe her." However, everyone knew in their hearts that they really owed Luo Qingtong. With the ability that the girl had shown, if she hadn't wanted to get something in the depths of the Broken Star Valley, she wouldn't have exposed her identity at all. It would have been easy for her to leave. But they relied on Luo Qingtong to survive among these blood-colored figures. If it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, they would have been killed by those bloody figures under the coercion of the Beast Taming King's Valley and the Celestial Palace. But even so, they wouldn't admit it. Otherwise, wouldn't they really be ungrateful people? Yunshi looked at their shameless faces, and she was so angry that she trembled all over. These people were simply too shameless. If it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, they would all be dead. Now they were saying that they didn't owe Luo Qingtong anything? How could they say that they didn't owe her a life? Yunshi was so angry that she wanted to continue arguing with them. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had also retracted her gaze from the entrance of the cave. Then she looked at the group of people with an indifferent expression and said, "Okay. If you want to leave, you can leave now." Qingtong. Yunshi was anxious. Although she and Luo Qingtong didn't know each other very well, seriously speaking, Luo Qingtong had helped her several times. Whether it was indirectly or directly. And this time, if it hadn't been for Luo Qingtong, she wouldn't have been able to survive until now. Looking at how the Yun family's people had all disappeared, it was obvious. At this moment, the people guarding Luo Qingtong were all experts from various sections. She was the only one whose strength was extremely low, yet she was completely unharmed. Yunshi knew what it meant to be grateful. But now, the group in front of her relied on Luo Qingtong to survive. They relied on Luo Qingtong to break free from the oppression of Beast Taming King Valley and Celestial Palace. And now, because of the Beast Tamer King Guguju's words, he abandoned Luo Qingtong. How hateful. Why did Luo Qingtong agree to let them go? If she let them go, how was she going to deal with the Beast Tamer Valley Master and the others? There's no need to say any more. Upon seeing Yunshi's gaze, Luo Qingtong knew what she was thinking. Her expression was indifferent. These people, even if you don't let them go, they won't stay. Why force it? If you want to leave, all of you can leave. As she spoke, she looked at Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others who had broken through the obstruction of those blood-colored figures and entered the range of the cave. Now that the latter and the others were no longer obstructed by those blood-colored figures, they rushed toward them with a ferocious expression. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Seeing this scene, the people of those forces didn't dare to stay any longer. They said hypocritically, "Miss Tong is still the most righteous one. Miss Tong, since you've said so, we won't meet again. Goodbye." As the group spoke, they bypassed Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others and rushed toward the outside. In their hearts, they were confident that they could rush out the way they had just rushed in. At most, without Luo Qingtong, some people who weren't strong enough might be unlucky, but most people should be fine. Chapter 2074. They were full of confidence, but they didn't realize that when they left, Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. She looked in the direction they left and the corners of her lips curled up. Naturally, we'll never meet again. The smile on her lips was charming but as cold as a knife. How could it be so easy to take advantage of her? These people were really thinking too much. If they had really accompanied her to the end, then no matter whether they succeeded or not, she would have brought all the survivors away safely. But since they had chosen to abandon her, then they couldn't blame her for taking back everything she had promised before. Want to leave this place alive? Sure. Maybe it would be faster in the dream. Luo Qingtong's sleeves fluttered slightly. Bang bang bang. A series of slight explosions sounded. All the auras that she had attached to those blood-colored figures were triggered and exploded by her. Those people thought that Luo Qingtong could see those blood-colored figures and mark them. It was because Luo Qingtong had that treasure map. Therefore they thought that Luo Qingtong had already used the method taught in that treasure map to make those blood-colored figures appear. In this way, even if Luo Qingtong was gone, they could still leave this place using the method they had used to rush in. At most, they would have to pay a price. But they didn't know that it was Luo Qingtong's eye technique that had seen through those blood-colored figures. And it was Luo Qingtong's aura that had marked those blood-colored figures. As long as she was willing, these marks could all be destroyed. Bang bang bang. Those auras all exploded in an instant. And a group of people rushed into those blood-colored figures with great momentum, anxious to leave. After rushing halfway, they suddenly felt that something was wrong. Why did the auras of those blood-colored figures disappear all of a sudden? There were no more traces of those blood-colored figures in front of them at this moment. However, the miserable cries around him continued to ring out one after another. Ah! A Saint Emperor was controlled by those blood-colored figures in front of everyone, and his intestines were pierced through and he died. Finally, he dragged his horribly broken body and joined the corpses controlled by those blood-colored figures, and rushed towards the crowd. The crowd screamed shrilly, desperately trying to retreat. But after losing the auras of those blood-colored figures, they had no way to effectively avoid the other party's attacks, and there was no way to leave their range. They could only be surrounded by them and constantly attacked to death. Only now did they realize how stupid their decision to give up on Luo Qingtong was. If they had known that they couldn't escape death in the end, they would have followed behind Luo Qingtong to fight against the people of the Beast King Valley, and find a chance to live. Chapter 2075. Seeing them rushing over, Yun Shi, who was beside Luo Qingtong, turned pale. The corners of her lips twitched. She wanted to tell Luo Qingtong to run. But at this time, where could Luo Qingtong run? The beast tamer King Guguju and the others didn't come alone, nor were they ordinary powerhouses. With so many of them coming, even if Luo Qingtong had that group of people by her side, she might not be able to escape from their pursuit. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong didn't have many people by her side. Apart from herself, there was only one other person by Luo Qingtong's side. Under such circumstances, unless that person was a powerhouse above the venerable realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible to save Luo Qingtong from the lineup of the beast tamer King Guguju and the others. Yun Shi's heart was filled with despair, but she didn't have the thought of leaving Luo Qingtong behind. Just as she thought before, if it weren't for Luo Qingtong taking care of her, she wouldn't have survived until now. She would have been killed by those blood-red figures long ago. Since that was the case, this could be considered as repaying Luo Qingtong's life. Thinking of this, she didn't say anything. She just pursed her lips tightly and closed her eyes. She knew that with her little strength, even if she rushed up to Luo Qingtong and risked her life, she wouldn't be able to stop the beast tamer King Guguju and the others for even half a breath. It wouldn't be a waste of effort. It would also save her from being a burden to Luo Qingtong. When she closed her eyes, Luo Qingtong looked at the beast tamer King Guguju and the others rushing toward her. She narrowed her eyes slightly, then tilted her head and said to Yun Shi, "Follow me closely. Look after her." The latter words were naturally said to Little Pig, who was hiding on the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint. Since Yun Shi had chosen to stay with her, Luo Qingtong would try her best to save her life. Of course, if they really couldn't keep it, there was nothing they could do. After all, Yun Shi's cultivation level was relatively weak. Luo Qingtong didn't dare to make a complete guarantee. It all depended on her luck. Shwa. The moment Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, the energy in her hand shot towards the entrance of the cave. Luo Qingtong and the others were still halfway to the entrance of the cave. If beast tamer King Guguju and the others didn't rush over, this distance was naturally nothing for Luo Qingtong. However, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley were already 100 meters away from the cave. They would reach Luo Qingtong in the blink of an eye. If Luo Qingtong were to run towards the cave, she would be exposing her rear to beast-taming King Guguju's group. She wasn't afraid of beast-tamer King Guguju's attack by relying on her eye technique. However, he was accompanied by a group of high-level experts from Beast-Tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Chapter 2076. Translations. The ripples of laws on it vibrated violently, and the invisible door suddenly exploded. At this moment, a boundless blood-red color gushed out. Boom boom boom. The violent explosion mixed with a sharp and resounding roar resounded in the depths of shattered Star Valley. In Luo Qingtong's bloody eyes, a huge blood-colored shadow suddenly rushed out of the broken transparent door. It turned out that the transparent door was a seal. Sealed inside was a huge blood-colored immortal jade bone. At this moment, it suddenly screamed and rushed out from inside. This blood-colored shadow was huge, almost 10 times bigger than the other blood-colored figures outside. The blood-colored aura surrounding it was also very dense. Not only that, its voice was loud and deafening. Even Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others, who couldn't hear its sound waves, felt a stabbing pain in their heads. After all, these blood-colored figures all relied on spiritual energy to attack. And this blood-colored figure's strength was even above the other blood-colored figures by many times. It screamed sharply and rushed towards Luo Qingtong and the others. Because the girl was the closest to it. And when it attacked, Luo Qingtong's body had already turned. Then her body flashed and she took a mysterious step, following the path calculated by her bloody eyes. With a swoosh, she rushed towards Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others. The latter and the others hated Luo Qingtong to the bone, so they were prepared to rush in front of her and ruthlessly end her. But who would have thought that Luo Qingtong would make such an unexpected move in such a situation? Before they could react, they saw Luo Qingtong attack the cave and then rush towards them. Quick, attack and kill her. When Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others reacted, Luo Qingtong had already rushed in front of them. An extremely bad premonition flashed in his heart. Beast-Tamer King Guguju was flustered and exasperated, and ordered his people to attack. At the same time, he also prepared to attack Luo Qingtong. But it was too late. At such a close distance they had no time to attack. And because they had to surround Luo Qingtong and not let her escape, their formation was concave in a semicircle. And Luo Qingtong was in the middle of their concave formation. If they attacked, they could easily injure others. Therefore, when they heard Beast-Tamer King Guguju's words, the higher-ups of Beast-Tamer King's Valley and Celestial Palace hesitated subconsciously. In just a moment, Luo Qingtong's figure appeared behind them. And behind her, Yun Shi and the great Yong Saint's corpse puppet followed closely. Yun Shi was stunned when Luo Qingtong opened her mouth. Before she could open her eyes, Little Pig controlled the great Yong Saint's corpse puppet to grab her and chase after Luo Qingtong. Almost at the same time that Luo Qingtong appeared behind Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others, the two figures also appeared behind Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others. You! Beast-Tamer King Guguju's voice was filled with shock and anger. Before they could turn around, Chapter 2077. Then there was a Pucci. One of the higher-ups of the Celestial Palace at the edge of the group let out a shrill scream. In an instant, he was torn in half by an invisible giant hand. Blood splattered out. Blood splattered all over the faces of the Beast-Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace's upper echelons. Soon after, another Beast-Taming King Valley's upper echelon let out a miserable shriek as he followed in the footsteps of the Celestial Palace's upper echelon. Puff puff puff. These executives of Beast-Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace were all above the Saint Emperor realm, but they couldn't resist at all in front of that invisible figure. That huge blood-colored figure's mental attack first invaded their brains and controlled their movements, then suddenly raised its hand and tore them apart. In the blink of an eye, the two higher-ups were completely dead. As for the huge blood-red shadow, it only looked at them indifferently and had no intention of possessing them. Instead, it continued to scream and rush toward Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others. Bang bang. In the blink of an eye, two higher-ups from the Beast-Taming King's Valley and Extreme Celestial Palace died. And Guguju and the others didn't even see the face of the enemy. It's that damn thing, the Blood Immortal Jade Bones transformation. Beast-Tamer King Guguju and the others already knew from Luo Qingtong's words that it was the Blood Immortal Jade Bones transformation that controlled the bloody corpse. Now, seeing how the blood-colored figure tore apart the two executives of Beast-Tamer Valley and Celestial Palace, it was very clear that this blood-colored figure's strength was above the Saint Emperor realm. Damn it, Luo Qingtong just attacked the cave to release this damn thing? How did she know that there was this damn thing behind the cave, and that there was a seal at the entrance? No wonder that bitch didn't run in the direction of the cave when they rushed over. Logically speaking, regardless of whether it was useful or not, the other party should have given it a try. In the end, Luo Qingtong just stood there and didn't move. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought that she knew that she couldn't escape, so she just stood there and waited for death. However, she didn't expect that she had seen through the mystery of the cave entrance, so she deliberately didn't run over. Otherwise, the one who would face the blood-red phantom and be torn to shreds would definitely be that B*TCH. Thinking of this, the beast tamer King Guguju gritted his teeth in anger. As for Luo Qingtong, she didn't stop after passing by the higher-ups of Beast Taming King's Valley and Celestial Palace. Her figure flashed as she stomped her foot in the air, bypassing Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others as she charged toward the cave. Only then did Yunshi return to her senses. She immediately coordinated with the great Yong-Sank corpse puppet beside her and followed Luo Qingtong's figure as they rushed towards the cave. Her heart was filled with indescribable surprise and shock. She didn't expect that Luo Qingtong had such a backup plan. It turned out that there were blood-red phantoms near the cave, but they were sealed in the cave. No wonder those blood-red phantoms stopped 100 meters away and didn't dare to approach here. It turned out that there were even more ferocious and terrifying blood-red phantoms. If those people knew that Luo Qingtong had such a backup plan, they would definitely regret leaving, right? After all, even if they could break out of the encirclement of those blood-red phantoms and leave Broken Stars Valley, they would have to pay a price. It was far more advantageous to follow Luo Qingtong. Chapter 2078. However, Yunshi didn't know that those people didn't just choose the wrong path. There was no turning back. Surrounded and attacked by those blood-colored figures, they were all dead. When Luo Qingtong and the others rushed into the cave, the beast tamer King Guguju and the others were furious and wanted to chase after them. However, the huge blood-colored figure was entangling them so tightly that they couldn't get away. This blood-colored figure was able to exert the power of the Holy Spirit realm. However, because of its huge size and the fact that it used spiritual attacks, the beast tamer King Guguju and the others couldn't do anything to it. Because they couldn't see its figure, they couldn't go around it and split up to chase after Luo Qingtong. Suddenly he was blocked outside the cave. He was so angry that he was stamping with rage. This time, the Beast Tamer King Guguju couldn't abandon the higher-ups of the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace like he did with the disciples of the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace. If he did that, he would be the only one at a disadvantage. What's more, those disciples who were abandoned could be trained again. However, once the higher-ups of the Beast Tamer King Valley were lost, the Beast Tamer King Valley would become an empty shell. At that time, any mid-level sect could destroy the Beast Tamer King Valley. What was the use of having a complete Beast Tamer technique? Therefore, the Beast Tamer King Guguju, the Dark Elder, and the other holy venerables were forced to stay where they were and didn't dare to chase after Luo Qingtong. Their faces were twisted with rage like that of a ghost. Luo Qingtong glanced at them indifferently and rushed into the cave. These people from the Beast Tamer King Valley and Celestial Palace used others as bait and shields before. They probably didn't expect to become her bait and shield, right? She really had to thank them for luring that huge blood-colored figure away for her. Luo Qingtong, Yunshi, and the Sure puppet rushed into the cave. This place was extremely deep and spacious. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Her gaze swept over the path that led straight into the depths of the forest, and she led Yunshi and Sure Shao into the depths of the forest. While Luo Qingtong, Yunshi, Sure Shao, and the others were heading into the depths of the cave. As the Beast Tamer King Guguju, the Celestial Palace Master, and the others fought against the Blood Immortal Jade Bone's transformation, they discovered that as the Blood Immortal Jade Bone absorbed more and more blood essence, its formless silhouette was slowly showing some shape. This was something they hadn't noticed before. Perhaps it was because there were too many crimson figures before, and the amount of blood essence and life force allocated to each figure was too little. That was why such an effect was not present. Chapter 2079. It was better than them losing their lives. One had to know that other than the Beast Taming King Valley Master and a few others, the rest of them weren't a match for the blood-colored shadow. If they didn't hurry to feed this bloody shadow, would they wait for it to kill them and use their lives to fill its body? The crowd scrambled to feed the crimson figure with their blood. Luo Qingtong and Yunshi had already reached the depths of the cave. This place seemed to have been built into a stone room. The inside was brightly lit and there were huge luminous pearls embedded in the walls. The bright lights of the pearls converged together like a ray of light, illuminating the depths of the cave. In the depths of the cave, a corpse sat on a futon. In front of the corpse, on the wall at the end of the cave, there were words engraved. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. The fifth beast tamer law formula. She looked at the words engraved on the wall and clearly recognized that it was the content of the fifth beast tamer law formula. Because the contents of the first four were related to each other. The fifth beast tamer law formula should be no exception. Luo Qingtong compared the contents of the first four beast tamer law formulas that she had memorized before, and soon determined that what was engraved on the wall was the content of the fifth beast tamer law formula. However, next to the content of the beast tamer law formula, there were murals. These murals seemed to have been carved by someone in a hurry. They were very messy and the lines were very simple. Because of the erosion of countless years, many of the images had been broken, and there were no traces of them. The whole murals were very messy and mottled. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed and she carefully identified the murals. She found that what was engraved on them seemed to be related to the land of the fallen immortals. The bloody light in her eyes suddenly skyrocketed. The real reason for the formation of the land of the fallen immortals was very mysterious. For a long time, the people of the hidden world only knew that the land of the fallen immortals was formed because the powerhouses of the outer realms were fighting over some treasure. The result was that all of them perished together in the true Spill Continent's hidden world. For some unknown reason, no one had passed down any information about the treasure. Hence, for so many years, everyone in the hidden world only knew that there was a treasure in the immortal graveyard. However, they did not know what the treasure that caused so many foreign experts to fight over it was. At this moment, Luo Qingtong might be able to find out the reason behind the murals. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong immediately used her dojutsu to restore the content of the missing images. The contents of the murals were imprinted in her pupils. Countless lines of light flashed, following the traces that might exist, constantly drawing and filling up the missing murals in her pupils. Soon, the image that was most likely the closest to the original image was restored by her. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed, and she looked at these images one by one. The first image said that the powerhouses of the outer realms received the news and came to the hidden world. Then the second image said that they went to a place together. The third image said that they began to fight. Chapter 2080. Her gaze suddenly froze. She saw on one of the pictures. Those people all fell to the ground. In the middle of their bodies, there was a huge ball of light that looked like a living thing. Within it there was a thump, 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 thump. What was this? Was this the treasure that those people were fighting for? Luo Qingtong's eyes focused on the picture, and then she continued to look. He saw a person dragging his broken body out of the cave, and finally collapsed in a cave. The paintings that followed were meant to explain how the person had managed to carve these scenes onto the wall at the end of his life. Clearly, the person on the mural was the corpse in the cave. She didn't know how he managed to survive this disaster and draw these pictures. However, it was clear that his strength was much stronger than those who had died near the ball of light. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to drag his last breath to appear here and draw these pictures. As Luo Qingtong thought about it, she continued to read. By the time she saw the last image, there was a clear difference in the image. What was drawn on it was the scene of the corpse in the cave passing away in a sitting posture. The lines on the picture were smooth and smooth. The picture that was revealed was composed of small words. It turned out that the whole picture was actually a letter. Luo Qingtong looked at the content of the picture carefully. My name is Zhuge 13. If there is a fated person who comes to this cave, please bring my relics back to my family, the Zhuge family. The Zhuge family is the #1 beast tamer family in the extraterritorial domain. We created a unique beast taming method that allows people who don't have beast taming soul seals to contract and tame demonic beasts. From then on, their combat power will increase, and their strength won't lose to those who have soul seals. Today, I am the 94th generation great-grandson of the Zhuge family. Because I heard about the sector beast, I came to this remote waste domain, a low-level continent. In the end, I died here. This is my fate. However, I've just finished improving the clan's cultivation method, so that the demon beasts contracted by the clan's cultivation method can increase their strength together with the contractor, complementing each other. Although I can't solve the problem of the beast taming technique only being able to contract demonic beasts that are weaker than me, I've already formed the embryonic form of a heaven and earth contract. Now that I've died here, I hope that the fated person will be able to return my cultivation methods and personal belongings to the Zhuge family. For this, I am willing to repay you with my inheritance. I will use my own beast mark to bestow upon the fated one. A beast mark was a mark condensed by a beast tamer's beast taming technique. Through the use of the seal, one could contract a demonic beast. Chapter 2081. Because what the other party had was his beast mark. And this man named Zhuge Shirsan was able to survive until the end in that battle where he killed all the extraterrestrial experts. His strength was unknown. The demonic beasts contracted by his beast mark were naturally not below him in strength. Whoever could get his beast mark would really be rich. However, this beast mark inheritance was not very attractive to Luo Qingtong. After all, she already had the heaven and earth contract. With this contract, Luo Qingtong could even contract a divine beast if she wanted to. But Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance could only contract demonic beasts that were weaker than him in strength. This was too weak for Luo Qingtong. However, the demonic beasts contracted by Luo Qingtong's heaven and earth contract would be temporarily suppressed if the contractor's strength was weak. But Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance did not have this restriction. As long as the demonic beasts were below his level, he could contract and control them. And the demonic beast's strength would not be restricted at all. In other words, even if an ordinary person obtained his beast mark inheritance, as long as he could contract a powerful demonic beast, he could use this demonic beast's strength to beat others. Comparing these two, in the long run, the heaven and earth contract was naturally better. But in the short run, Zhuge Shirsan's beast mark inheritance could play a greater role. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong decided to accept this beast mark inheritance. After all, with her current strength, she really needed to improve. As for his last wish, if there was a chance in the future, she would naturally fulfill it for him. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong immediately reached out to the package that Zhuge Shirsan's corpse was holding. This package was in the arms of Zhuge Shirsan's corpse. The latter's head was lowered, and his hands were tightly crossed as he hugged the package tightly. Obviously, this package was his belongings. At the same time, it was also where the beast-taming incantation and inheritance was. This Zhuge Shirsan was also a talent to be able to improve such a beast-taming incantation. Luo Qingtong came for the 5th beast-taming incantation. However, he did not expect that the best thing was not that, but the cultivation method improved by Zhuge 13. If she guessed correctly, the 5th beast-taming incantation and the first 4 beast-taming incantations would only be the beast-taming incantation practiced by the Zhuge family. It was far inferior to the spell improved by Zhuge 13. The spell improved by the latter was a weaker version of the heaven and earth contract. To be able to do this, Zhuge 13 was indeed a rare genius. His position in the Zhuge family must not be weak. It was a pity that he had died here. Who knew what the sector beast he had been talking about was? It actually attracted so many foreign experts to fight over it. Furthermore, none of these people had leaked any information. Did they really value this sector beast that much? Luo Qingtong's mind was racing. However, the movements of his hands did not stop at all. Whoosh! She grabbed the black package and pulled it out of Zhuge Shirsan's body and held it in her hand. "Let's go," she said to Yunxi and Little Pig. The people from the beast-taming valley and the celestial palace were still outside. She had to leave while the giant blood-red shadow was holding them back. Chapter 2082. Translations, Qingtong, be careful. Yunxi and the great Yongzheng corpse puppet stood nearby, watching Luo Qingtong study the murals and words. Although they didn't know what those things were. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Luo Qingtong seemed to be studying something. She didn't dare to disturb Luo Qingtong, so she stood there motionless. Little Pig had already lifted the veil on the great Yongzheng corpse puppet's head and poked his head out from the puppet's arms, looking at the murals and words on the wall. He didn't have the blood eyes like Luo Qingtong, which could restore the images on the murals. After studying for a long time, he could vaguely make out some things. Suddenly, he swept his gaze around and saw a huge ball of light that seemed to be alive. This seems to be. He widened his eyes, trying his best to distinguish the appearance of this ball of light. Then he heard Luo Qingtong's voice calling for them to leave. He was just about to ask Luo Qingtong to wait. Then he looked up and saw a scene that made him extremely shocked. "Quick! Get out of the way!" He hopped his little hooves and hurriedly shouted at Luo Qingtong. His voice and Yunxi's scream sounded at almost the same time. When Luo Qingtong saw the sudden change in their expressions, she immediately felt that something was wrong behind her. Bang! Her figure suddenly flashed and dodged to the side. Then, a huge crater was blasted open on the ground where she had been standing. The waves of power that had burst out from the hole were extremely violent. The strong wind and gravel that flew in all directions cut her skin like sharp blades. In just an instant, several bloody wounds appeared on Luo Qingtong's body and face. Such a violent force, such a terrifying power, just the aftermath alone was enough to injure Luo Qingtong. And this was under the circumstance that she had clearly dodged the attack. The girl's expression instantly turned grave. Venerable realm. Sensing the power in the air that could almost break all laws, Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. This power carried the aura of a power above the venerable realm. Although it was only a trace, it carried a destructive power. This was a power of another level, far above the Saint Realm. It was far from being comparable to any power in the Saint Realm. Any power above the Sage Realm, including the Holy Venerate Realm, appeared insignificant in front of this wisp of power. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed slightly. She looked behind her. Behind where she had just stood, the corpse that had been sitting on the futon suddenly stood up. Its head slowly lifted slowly, revealing a greenish-black and shriveled face. Its eyes were only flickers with a ruthlessness and ferociousness. In corpse. The corpse puppet's body Zhuge Shirsan had been transformed into a corpse. Chapter 2083. But how did Zhuge Shirsan's corpse suddenly turn into a yin corpse? When Luo Qingtong approached it, it was still motionless. And Luo Qingtong's blood eye did not detect any abnormalities. How did it change so suddenly? But when Luo Qingtong approached the corpse, she also felt a little strange. Zhuge Shirsan's corpse had been dead for a long time in this cave. Logically speaking, it should have been eroded by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals and turned into a yin corpse. How could there be no movement? But at that time she only thought that Zhuge Shirsan had some way to prevent himself from turning into a yin corpse, so she did not pay much attention to it. After all, under the investigation of her blood eye, the corpse was indeed just a corpse, and there was no trace of abnormalities. She did not expect it to change in an instant. Luo Qingtong frowned. Suddenly, she thought of the transparent door that she had blasted open. Could it be that the existence of the seal prevented Zhuge Shirsan's corpse from being eroded by the aura of the land of the deceased immortals? Then she blasted open the seal, and the aura of the outside poured in, and then Zhuge Shirsan's corpse was affected? Luo Qingtong thought about it and felt that this was probably the only reason that made sense. But she also felt that something was wrong. But now she did not have time to think about it. After the yin corpse transformed from Zhuge Shirsan's corpse stood up completely, it suddenly screamed and pounced on Luo Qingtong. Boom! The wind that it pounced on was like a sharp blade, and the direction of the wind was enough to turn into a blade and cut people into pieces. Luo Qingtong's face was cold, and she immediately jumped up when it pounced on her. Bang! The yin corpse that Zhuge Shirsan transformed into missed its target. It had just finished its transformation and its bones were still very stiff, so its movements were not very fast. Luo Qingtong relied on her eye technique to barely dodge its attack. But when it transformed a little more, its bones would become more adapted to its body movements, and its lethality would increase exponentially. Bang! At this moment, Luo Qingtong's attack came down. Annihilation. As soon as she made her move, she immediately used her strongest attack without holding back at all. This was a yin corpse that could use the power of an exalt realm. Luo Qingtong would never be so arrogant as to joke with her own life. Death Blade Power. Soul of Myriad Flames. Luo Qingtong's sword light instantly became as dark as ink. The black sword radiance was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It drew a cold and murderous arc in the air and slashed toward Zhuge Shirsan's corpse. At the same time, the power of the soul of myriad flames in her body burst out in an instant. Along with the light from the sword, countless colors of flames clustered around the black sword light. It embellished the terrifying sword light that seemed to have come from the nether realm with a myriad of colors, and it was extremely magnificent and gorgeous. More than 10 kinds of flames tangled together, and around the black sword light, beautiful flowers bloomed one after another. It carried a terrifying power that could burn people into flames, or freeze people into cold flames, and it blasted toward the yin corpse in front. The power of annihilation dissolved and transformed the power around the yin corpse, and finally transformed it into its own attack power. Chapter 2084. This was an attack to pay someone back in their own coin. The stronger the opponent, the stronger the opponent. Boom. The sword light ruthlessly slashed at the yin corpse that Zhuge Shirsan had transformed into, instantly creating intense sparks. However, the yin corpse was completely unharmed. The attack that carried wisps of venerable realm aura blasted on its body did not even leave a scratch on its skin. This won't do. Little Pig jumped from the great Yong corpse puppet to Luo Qingtong's body at this moment. He stared at Zhuge Shirsan's corpse that was roaring madly and pouncing towards Luo Qingtong. This Een corpse's strength is too strong. To be precise, Zhuge Shursan's strength was too strong when he was alive. I guess he's at least a green venerable realm expert. This little bit of venerable realm aura won't be able to break through his defense. Green venerable realm? Was that the level of strength above the venerable realm? Luo Qingtong's brows slightly furrowed, but she did not have the time to ask Little Pig about this matter. Because at this moment, two wild roars suddenly came from somewhere behind her. He saw that in a dark corner of the cave, two roaring Een corpse monster beasts slowly walked out of it. Their wide-open mouths had already rotted, revealing the eerie white bones. Their bodies were shriveled and greenish-black. They were almost as thin as skeletons. However, the strength around them was abnormally strong. Venerable realm. Luo Qingtong looked at the two Een corpse beasts that were walking out, and the light in her eyes became even more serious. A Een corpse that could use a trace of venerable realm strength and two Een corpse beasts. No, not two. Not far from the two Een corpse beasts that were walking out, the other two Een corpse beasts also roared madly and staggered to their feet. Their wild and ferocious roars shook the entire depths of the cave. 4 Een corpse beasts, and all 4 of them had the strength of venerable realm. Luo Qingtong's eyes became extremely serious. Little Pig's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Oh my god. Is there a need to be so exaggerated? With this lineup, who the hell can take away the thing that the beast-taming King's Valley people want? *CK. If they knew earlier, they wouldn't have stopped the beast-taming King's Valley people from coming in to take this damn thing. It's better to let them come in. At that time, everyone would die. How convenient it would be. It would also save us from being trapped. Thinking of this, Little Pig cursed in his heart. Those bastards from the beast-taming King's Valley, they've really killed me. When Luo Qingtong heard its words, her heart skipped a beat. She seemed to have thought of something but she could not grasp it. Then a series of wind-breaking sounds rushed out from within. Bitch. Chapter 2085. When Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others rushed into the depths of the cave, the 4 Een corpse beasts had also finished their transformation. They roared and rushed toward Luo Qingtong. Their bodies were like whirlwinds, and the holy venerate strength around them stirred up the spiritual chi in the cave, causing it to surge and vibrate continuously. Roar. As they rushed toward Luo Qingtong, Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse tore apart Luo Qingtong's annihilation and soul of myriad flames attacks. It then tore apart the energy storm around it and rushed toward Luo Qingtong. A pincer attack from all sides. This moment of crisis was unprecedented for Luo Qingtong. Ever since she transmigrated to this strange world, she had never encountered such a critical moment. All of her paths of coming, going, and retreating were sealed. If it were someone else, they might have already collapsed in despair. In front of Luo Qingtong was Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse, and to her left and right were the 4 Een corpse beasts. Behind her were Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others, who were attacking her like malicious spirits. They had ferocious expressions and wanted to kill her at any moment. In this kind of crisis and perilous situation, anyone else would have died. She couldn't move forward, she couldn't retreat, she couldn't even dodge. At this moment, Little Pig's expression was extremely solemn. Its face, which was usually mischievous and unreliable, now looked indescribably dignified and solemn. If it really didn't work, he would have to take action. Since Luo Qingtong's strength had increased, Little Pig had been able to use the strength of his main body after sleeping for a long time in the 9-layered exquisite pagoda. These 4 Een corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse were not difficult for him. But the bad thing was that this place was not right. Just like how Yi Qianxian couldn't enter this place, and if he forced his way in, the scene would collapse. Little Pig was the same. If he used his main body's strength, the scene in the graveyard of immortals would immediately collapse and disappear. Didn't Luo Qingtong enter this place to gain experience and obtain treasures? Now that he finally got the news, Little Pig naturally wouldn't use his strength unless it was absolutely necessary. As for Luo Qingtong, when Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others rushed in, she had already guessed who they were. She didn't expect Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others to be able to avoid the huge blood-colored shadow and rush into the depths of the cave. Luo Qingtong's face was slightly surprised, but the light in her eyes suddenly lit up. Such a pincer attack from 4 sides was an extremely thrilling situation for anyone. But for Luo Qingtong this was a rare chance. If Luo Qingtong's, she would Luo Qingtong's Een corpse beasts, and Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse. After all, she could still barely avoid Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse. But with the addition of 4 Een corpse beasts, she wouldn't even have the chance to escape. At that time she would have no other choice but to ask Little Pig to take action. But now that Beast Tamer King's Valley's people had arrived, they became her best shield. The Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others were truly noble and virtuous. It wasn't easy for them to get rid of that gigantic blood-colored shadow, but now they were rushing over to block the disaster for her. They were simply too good to her. Chapter 2086. She had to leave quickly so that the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others would not be in vain. As she thought of this, her lips suddenly curled up. Then she pulled Yun Shi and leaped up. In that instant, her eyes burst with a blazing light. The blood-red light filled Luo Qingtong's eyes. The blood-red pupils kept spinning. Very quickly, the sky was filled with blood-red light from a certain point in the eye. It instantly radiated in all directions and dyed the whites of Luo Qingtong's eyes red. At this moment, Luo Qingtong's eyes were blood-red. Her aura was domineering and evil. She was like a blood-red demon god that rose from the dark night. She was extremely evil and charming. In her eyes, all the trajectories and attack directions of the pincer attack from all directions were rapidly evolving in her eyes. Countless lines and lights flitted across her eyes. Countless possibilities were demonstrated. Finally, she chose the best route of evasion. Boom! Luo Qingtong's figure leaped up in an instant. Driven by her thoughts, the undead hag beside her also leaped up with her in an instant. Boom! Luo Qingtong's figure leaped toward the top of the cave. The depths of this cave were extremely large. The distance between the top of the cave and the ground was not short. It was enough for Luo Qingtong to leap up and avoid the attacks of the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. Swish swish swish. Luo Qingtong's figure made several turns in midair. Her figure did not move in a large arc in midair, but she still managed to avoid the attacks of the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. Naturally, the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint had contributed to this. Its figure had always been in front of Luo Qingtong, blocking all the aftershocks of the attacks. Bang! Luo Qingtong's figure flew to the top of the cave, and then flew behind Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. After Luo Qingtong flew up, the latter and the others immediately faced Zhuge Shursanzin corpse and the 4 Yin corpse beasts in front of her. Roar! The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursanzin corpse were originally going for Luo Qingtong, but now that the girl had run away, they naturally targeted Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others who were closest to them. When the latter and the others heard the roars of the Yin corpses and the Yin corpse beasts, the reason that had been drowned in anger suddenly came back. Seeing the Yin corpses and Yin corpse beasts pouncing towards them, their faces were indescribably ugly. Damn it! Luo Qingtong, you bitch! You're using us as a shield again. Beast Tamer King Guguju's face was like thunder. He had never thought that after rushing into the depths of the cave, what he would face was not the scene that he had imagined, where he would beat up Luo Qingtong and then torture her until nothing was left. Instead, there were 4 Saint Venerable Yin corpse beasts and 1 Yin corpse that could use the power of a Saint Venerable. Luo Qingtong, that bitch, used them to block the disaster again. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the Celestial Palace Master were about to vomit blood. Why did they rush in here with all their might? Wasn't it to kill Luo Qingtong and get the things inside? Who would have thought that they would not get anything but block another disaster for Luo Qingtong? If they had known, they would not have rushed in and waited outside for Luo Qingtong to be killed. Bastard. Chapter 2087. The 4 Yin corpse beasts were menacing, not to mention the Yin corpse of Zhuge Shursan, who could use the strength of a venerable realm expert. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were furious, but they did not dare to be negligent. Otherwise, with the formation of these 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, it was enough to completely annihilate them here. They used all their strength to barely resist the attacks of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. But this was only temporary. When the joints of these 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses were completely softened and no longer stiff, their strength would soar again. At that time they would be miserable. While the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley were fighting against the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, Luo Qingtong took Yun Shi and rushed to the entrance of the cave. Taking advantage of the fact that Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others had not reacted and were still resisting the Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpse beasts, she had to leave here as soon as possible. Otherwise, when they reacted and did not need to stay in the cave, they would turn around and chase after them, and that would be troublesome. At that time, Luo Qingtong would not only have to deal with Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, but also the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse. As her figure rushed out, the corpse puppet of the great Yong Saint followed closely behind her. because its body was resisting the aftermath of the attacks of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, who knew how many big holes were blasted in its body. Its whole body was in a mess. But fortunately, its limbs were not injured. Although its body was broken, it still firmly followed beside Luo Qingtong. The young girl glanced at it, thinking that after leaving here she must find some corpses to nourish and restore its strength. Fortunately, she had increased the strength of this corpse puppet before, otherwise it would not have been able to resist the aftermath of the attacks just now. Luo Qingtong's jumping figure would also be affected by the attacks of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others. At that time, it would not be easy to avoid their attacks and let them collide with the four corpse beasts and corpses. With this in mind, Luo Qingtong immediately rushed toward the entrance of the cave with Yunxi in tow. However, just as she was about to reach the entrance of the cave, roar! A ferocious roar suddenly rang out. Then a huge blood-red figure pounced towards Luo Qingtong from the corner of the passage ahead. At this time, Luo Qingtong was rushing at full speed towards the direction of the light coming from the cave entrance. Since there was already light, it meant that the cave entrance was not far from the corner. However, who would have thought that the giant crimson figure would rush out at this moment? Luo Qingtong didn't have time to stop. She rushed towards the blood-red figure. Seeing it reach out to grab her, Luo Qingtong's eyes froze. Bang! The life and death yin-yang sword in her hand suddenly stretched out and inserted horizontally into the passageway beside her. Sizzle! A sharp, ear-piercing scraping sound suddenly rang out. Fierce sparks burst out between the wall and the blade light of the life and death yin-yang sword. Boom! Luo Qingtong's figure finally stopped in front of the palm of the giant crimson figure. Chapter 2088. Luo Qingtong's gaze fell on the crimson figure. She found that its originally formless body was now filled with blood, revealing itself in the air. Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows at the solid body and the obvious wounds on it. So that's how it is. She was wondering how the people from Beast Taming King's Valley found a way to deal with this crimson figure so quickly. If they could find a way to deal with this crimson figure, they wouldn't have to gather so many people here and expose the location of Shattered Star Valley. It turned out that this crimson figure had sucked enough of their blood and chi, exposing itself. Now that it was exposed, the people from Beast Taming King's Valley could easily shake it off. And because its body was exposed, the physical attacks that didn't work on it before were now effective. No wonder the people from Beast Taming King's Valley could shake it off and rush into the depths of the cave. But with this crimson figure blocking her way, she was in trouble. Luo Qingtong frowned. She watched as the crimson figure rushed towards her again. This crimson figure now had a solid body and it was its own body. Its attacks were no longer limited to spiritual energy. Luo Qingtong frowned slightly as she watched it continue to grab her with its big hand. Bang! She leaped into the air, and the gigantic crimson figure grabbed nothing but air, creating a huge hole in the ground where she was standing. Then it roared again and tried to grab Luo Qingtong. The giant blood-red figure was a Holy Spirit realm expert, but its true strength was comparable to a Holy Venerate. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to force the Beast Taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others into such a sorry state. After all, its spiritual energy attacks and possession were very difficult to deal with for Beast Taming King Guguju and the others. Except for Beast Taming King Guguju and a few others, the others basically couldn't resist its attacks. At this moment, because it was fed by Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, it had a physical body. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others could easily escape, but Luo Qingtong was blocked because of its physical attack. Otherwise, with her ability to see through the blood-red figure and resist its mental attacks, she would have been able to kill it easily. At the very least, under the threat of the life blade, the other party could not block her path. But now, this huge blood-red figure had a physical attack, which made it difficult for Luo Qingtong to deal with. Keep an eye on her. Luo Qingtong tossed Yunxi to Little Pig and the Great Yongzheng corpse puppet to look after her. She turned around and opened her blood-red eyes to scan the cavern. The crimson shadow had been trapped in the cave before, which meant that its main body was in the cave. Luo Qingtong couldn't deal with the blood-red figure that had turned into a physical body. However, as long as he could find the location of its main body and crush the blood immortal jade bone, the transformation of the blood immortal jade bone would also be destroyed. Therefore, Luo Qingtong didn't panic when facing the attack of the blood-red figure. She was only worried that Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others would catch up. But what she feared would happen. Just as Luo Qingtong's eyes were scanning the surroundings to find the main body of the blood-red figure and the location of the immortal jade bone. Chapter 2089. Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were soon unable to resist the 4 Een corpse beasts and Een corpses. The 4 Een corpse beasts were Zhuge Shursan's contracted beasts when he was alive. They had guarded him until he fled here. Now that Zhuge Shursan's corpse had transformed into Een corpses, their bodies had also transformed at the same time. After the initial stiff period, their movements became more and more nimble, and their coordination was simply terrifying. In addition, Zhuge Shursan's corpse could use the power of the Venerable Realm. For Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, it was a complete nightmare. After fighting against the Een corpse beasts and Een corpses for a while, several of them were killed. Finally, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others could not hold on any longer. Soon after, they realized that they didn't have to force themselves to stay here. The good things here had obviously been taken away by Luo Qingtong. That slut had used them as a shield and had already run away. What were they still doing here? After reacting, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others hurriedly ran outside. At this time, Luo Qingtong had already found the location of the giant blood shadow's main body. The giant blood immortal jade bone was in the front right corner of the cave. The giant blood shadow would never have thought that a person like Luo Qingtong would exist in this world. A pair of blood-red eyes could see through thousands of things, and had already seen the location of its main body. After grabbing empty air with its 2 hands, it immediately roared and once again grabbed at Luo Qingtong. The huge arc and fierce wind created by the 2 hands surged like a tsunami, attacking Luo Qingtong from all directions. The huge force that exploded out was many times stronger than the one that grabbed at Luo Qingtong. Clearly, its repeated failures had finally caused it to be enraged. The girl in front of it was as small as an ant, but such a girl was able to dodge its attacks again and again. The giant blood shadow rushed at Luo Qingtong with large strides, its hands closed like a palm leaf fan. At this time, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others also rushed out from the passage behind Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong's slut. Seeing Luo Qingtong's figure, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were startled at first, then they became furious. It was this slut who had just used them to block the disaster, causing them to be besieged by the 4 Een corpse beasts and Een corpses. Bastard! The thing is with you. Beast Tamer King Guguju's face sinister. He looked at Luo Qingtong's hands. Because she was in a hurry to be, she did not put it into the trash ring. This black package was faintly stained with a trace of the same aura as the Een corpse, not to mention that it was stained with dust. Obviously, this was the good thing that Luo Qingtong had obtained from the depths of the cave. This B*Tich had indeed taken advantage of the time when they were blocking the giant blood-red shadow to obtain the item. Fortunately, the giant blood-red shadow blocked her. Otherwise, wouldn't this B*Tich have escaped long ago? You can't live if you want to. Luo Qingtong, you probably didn't think that the giant blood shadow would block here, right? Beast Tamer King Guguju's face was sinister. They used their blood to feed the giant blood shadow, then went around it and rushed into the depths of the cave. Originally, they only wanted to rush over as quickly as possible and not waste any more time. Chapter 2090. Good. Beast Tamer King Guguju laughed heartily, the veins on his face were clearly visible. Sure enough, this is karma. Luo Qingtong, just wait for your death here. This slut, let's see how she'll escape now. Beast Tamer King Guguju led his men and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Not far behind them were the 4 Een corpse beasts and the Een corpse. Beast Tamer King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with an evil grin on his face. The latter had just let them take the blame, but this time they wanted to let her take the blame. Once they snatched the black package, they would let Luo Qingtong face the 4 Een corpse beasts and the Een corpse. They could use this opportunity to kill the giant blood shadow and escape. At that time, Luo Qingtong would become their scapegoat, taking the blame for them and finally die miserably. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought of this scene, his heart suddenly felt indescribably comfortable, and his footsteps quickened. The group's speed was already very fast, and now it was like a hurricane sweeping over. Meanwhile, Luo Qingtong was preparing to dodge the attack of the giant blood-colored shadow and rush to the corner that she had scouted out to destroy its main body. But now that Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed out, her plan was obstructed. She was facing a pincer attack from 2 sides. No matter if she dodged or not, she would inevitably fall into danger. After all, behind Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others were the 4 Een corpse beasts and the Een corpse of Zhuge 13. The 4 Een corpse beasts chased behind Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, almost to the sky or to the earth, omnipotent. Their 4 limbs were very strong, and almost from 4 directions they rushed towards beast tamer King Guguju and the others. 2 of the Een corpse beasts climbed on the walls on both sides of the cave, while the other 2 chased from the top of the cave. Their rotting big mouths opened and let out a deafening roar. Almost in an instant they chased from behind. Zhuge Shursan's Een corpse was at the forefront of the charge. The power of the venerable realm lingering around it became denser and denser, and its movements became faster and faster. Their transformation was becoming more and more perfect. Luo Qingtong was not sure that after avoiding the pincer attack of beast tamer King Guguju and the giant blood shadow, she could avoid the attacks of the 5 beasts. No, not to mention 5 Zhuge 13's Een corpse, it was very difficult. Damn this situation, this was clearly a hell-level difficulty. Just as Little Pig had said, how could anyone who entered the Broken Star Valley take away Zhuge Shursan's belongings from the depths of the cave? It should be noted that the strongest people in the hidden world were only in the venerable realm. Chapter 2091. Inheritance? Beast Mark? Luo Qingtong looked at the black package in her hands and a thought flashed through her mind. Swoosh. Her figure flashed in an instant, and she dodged the hands of the huge crimson shadow in front of her that were grabbing at her. At the same time, her figure swayed. Her soft and slender waist was like a willow in the wind, flexible and elastic as she flashed through the air, evading the beast-taming King Valley's Valley Master and the others' attempts to grab her. Bitch. This was not the first time that the beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest had encountered such a situation. Luo Qingtong, this bitch, what was going on? How was she able to dodge their attacks at the right time? It was as if she had already seen through their thoughts. Sometimes, her figure seemed to collide into their attacks, but in reality, it was this kind of action that allowed her to dodge their following attacks. How was she able to do this? The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest were indescribably shocked. If Luo Qingtong was stronger than them, no, she didn't need to be stronger than them. Even if her strength was similar to theirs, they wouldn't find it strange that she could do this. But Luo Qingtong's strength was clearly only at the Saint Emperor realm. A Saint Emperor realm expert, ah? Such a person was like an ant in the eyes of the beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest. They could easily kill her. But it was this cultivation that was like an ant in the eyes of the beast-taming King Valley Master and the others, but in Luo Qingtong's hands she displayed unbelievable strength. The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest had never met someone like Luo Qingtong who had the strength of a Saint Emperor realm expert but was able to escape from the hands of the Saint Emperor realm experts and even the Saint Venerables. How was the other party's strength like a Saint Emperor realm expert? Even other holy venerate powerhouses would not be so calm and composed in front of them. The beast-tamer King Guguju and the rest were indescribably shocked and flustered. If it happened once or twice it could still be considered a fluke. But 3 or 4 times? Or even more, that was strength. Back in the beast-taming King Valley, beast-taming King Guguju and the others had thought that Luo Qingtong and Yi Chenxian were able to escape because of Yi Chenxian's strength. But this time, the mysterious masked man was no longer by the girl's side, but she was still calm in front of them. How could they convince themselves that this was just a fluke, Luo Qingtong's luck? Clearly, Luo Qingtong had some kind of mysterious power that allowed her to see through their strength and attacks. Previously, the appearance of those blood-red figures outside was not due to the treasure map, was it? In fact, it was all done by Luo Qingtong herself. Thinking of this, the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others were even more shocked. This woman must not be allowed to live. The beast-tamer King Guguju's expression was extremely dark and ruthless. If it was said that he already had a strong desire to kill Luo Qingtong before, then at this moment, the desire to kill Luo Qingtong in his heart had increased exponentially. He watched as Luo Qingtong's figure moved in mid-air, dodging their attacks one by one. His expression was cold to the extreme. So what if this woman dodged all their attacks? Beast-tamer King Guguju and the others heard the voice of the shadow in the air, and their hearts were filled with indescribable shock. Heaven-Earth beast-taming art? How domineering was the name of this art? And the clan? This was obviously the inheritance of the other party's clan. If Luo Qingtong obtained it, wouldn't it mean that Luo Qingtong would have an incomparably huge backer in the future? After all, no one knew how strong this man's clan was. The only thing they could be sure of was that the other party was from outside the region. In this way, no matter how strong the other party's clan was, they could easily crush their beast-tamer King Valley. Chapter 2093. No way. They must not let Luo Qingtong succeed. She must die here. As beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others thought, they immediately attacked Luo Qingtong recklessly. However, it was too late. The golden light entered between Luo Qingtong's eyebrows in an instant. Driven by the golden light, the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13's corpse, which were originally pouncing on Luo Qingtong, suddenly retreated to the side when they were about to pounce on her. The attack was aimed at beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others, who were charging towards Luo Qingtong. Bang bang bang. Beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others were instantly sent flying by the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13. Puff puff puff. They spat out mouthfuls of blood and looked at Luo Qingtong's eyebrows in despair. The golden light was about to merge with her body. However, something that no one expected happened. Boom. When the golden light mixed with the illusory light rushed into Luo Qingtong's eyebrows, Luo Qingtong's mind instantly boiled. Then her forehead became scalding hot, and a hexagram mark rose up uncontrollably. In the next second, the golden light mixed with the illusory light was ejected from it. That's right, it was ejected. Luo Qingtong looked at the golden light and Zhuge 13's illusory light floating in front of her and was shocked. She raised her hand to touch her forehead and found that the hexagram mark on her forehead had appeared. This was the mark of the contract with Hengji, the mark of the heaven and earth contract. Could it be that those with the heaven and earth contract could not inherit this beast mark? Luo Qingtong looked at Zhuge 13's beast mark inheritance, which was about to rush into her mind but was ejected by the hexagram. Her lips twitched. It couldn't be that bad, right? Could it be that because the heaven and earth contract was authentic, it could not tolerate a pirated version of the beast mark inheritance? But if she couldn't inherit this beast mark, then she wouldn't be able to get out of this crisis. Seeing that the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge 13's Yin corpse had already avoided her. But now, because the golden light and Zhuge Shirsan's shadow had been ejected, she no longer had the aura of the beast mark inheritance in her body. The 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shirsan's Yin corpse looked at her again. A Yin corpse beast crushed the sternum of a beast-taming King's Valley expert, then turned around and roared at her. With a leap, he charged towards her. The other 3 Yin corpse beasts were the same. Not to mention Zhuge Shirsan's Yin corpse. After a shriek, it grabbed at Luo Qingtong. His attacks were even more ferocious than when he faced beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others. Because those who couldn't obtain the beast mark inheritance didn't want to fulfill the agreement with Zhuge 13, they deserved to be killed. Only God knew that Luo Qingtong couldn't inherit the beast mark because she had the heaven and earth contract. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched. At this moment, beast tamer King Gu Guzhu and the others cried out in surprise and rushed towards the golden light floating in the air. That was the true inheritance in the depths of the cave. With it, they would receive unparalleled help. Chapter 2094. Haha. Luo Qingtong, I didn't think that you wouldn't be able to get the recognition of this distinguished one. This is too funny. Beast tamer King Gu Guzhu laughed loudly. He was just about to lose all hope. He didn't think that there would be a silver lining. Luo Qingtong wouldn't be able to fuse with that golden light. Now this opportunity belonged to their beast tamer King Valley. Beast tamer King Gu Guzhu's heart was filled with unspeakable pride. He didn't know that Luo Qingtong was able to repel that golden light because of the heaven and earth contract. He thought that Luo Qingtong wasn't able to get the recognition of that golden shadow. Luo Qingtong looked at the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shirsan's Yin corpse rushing towards her. Her eyes suddenly narrowed. If she couldn't get the beast mark inheritance, how could she get out of this dangerous situation? No matter what, she couldn't let the people of beast tamer King Valley get the beast mark inheritance. Not to mention, the beast mark inheritance seemed to be the only key to escape from these Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses. What should she do? Luo Qingtong's hand reached out and grabbed the golden light into her hand. That ball of golden light was still persistently trying to hit her forehead. This heaven and earth beast taming art was modified by Zhuge Shirsan according to the heaven and earth contract. Just now, he felt the pure aura of the heaven and earth contract on Luo Qingtong's forehead, so naturally it wanted to enter her body. Moreover, Luo Qingtong was the one who got the black package, so naturally she was the inheritor recognized by Zhuge Shirsan's remnant consciousness. But the heaven and earth contract in Luo Qingtong's body was extremely overbearing. It simply didn't allow the inferior beast mark inheritance to coexist with it in Luo Qingtong's body. That's right. From the heaven and earth contract's point of view, the beast mark inheritance that only received a part of the heaven and earth contract's effect was only inferior. How could it coexist with it in Luo Qingtong's body? When Luo Qingtong caught the golden light in her hands, the latter was still struggling with all its might. At this moment, Luo Qingtong had already stood up. Bang bang bang. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others who were charging towards her collided with the four Yin Corpse beasts and Zhuge 13. In the blink of an eye, a few more screams rang out as more of the Beast Taming King's Valley's disciples died. Bastard. Seeing that Luo Qingtong had once again dodged their attacks, Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others clenched their teeth in anger. That be ***. If it wasn't for the four Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin Corpse being a hindrance, with their strength and numbers, they could have easily killed her. Even if she had a strange ability that allowed her to see through their movements, how could she have enough strength to deal with them when surrounded? But these four Yin Corpse beasts and that Yin Corpse, made their hands and feet tied, they had no choice but to divert their attention to deal with them. They gave this ***tch a chance for no reason. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju was extremely angry, but he still managed to maintain his rationality. Continue to charge. I don't believe that she can keep dodging. This ***tch's ability must have a flaw. Not to mention other things, it definitely wouldn't last long. He wanted to see where she could hide. Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's guess was right. Luo Qingtong's eye technique relied on spiritual power to maintain. The young girl had lived 2 lives and cultivated spiritual power. Her spiritual power was naturally many times stronger than normal people. Chapter 2095. If this continued, the first to collapse would be Luo Qingtong. She had to think of a solution. Luo Qingtong's eyes narrowed. She took advantage of the collision between Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the Yin Corpses to escape. When she saw the giant blood-colored shadow rushing towards her, she immediately frowned. At this moment, Little Pig's voice rang out. Here, here. Let her inherit it. As he spoke, he had the great Yong Saint's corpse puppet grab Yun Shi and rush in front of Luo Qingtong. One person and one corpse had been standing in a corner, watching the fierce battle between Luo Qingtong and Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the Yin Corpses. Seeing that Luo Qingtong was unable to absorb the golden light inheritance, Little Pig suddenly patted his head with his little hoof. Oh, I forgot that she has the Heaven and Earth contract. The Heaven and Earth contract was already the highest Beast Tamer contract in the world. How could it allow other Beast Tamer arts to be in Luo Qingtong's body? Not to mention that she had to inherit the other party's beast mark. Obviously, the Heaven and Earth contract wasn't happy, so it ejected the beast mark inheritance. What should they do now? Little Pig frowned. At this moment, his gaze swept over to Yun Shi. She was looking at Luo Qingtong with a nervous expression. Yun Shi didn't know what the golden light inheritance was, but based on the current situation, it must be what the Beast Tamer King's Valley wanted. And Luo Qingtong was being chased by both parties because she failed to integrate the golden light inheritance. Coupled with the giant blood-colored shadow roaring and rushing towards her, her situation could be said to be extremely dangerous. If it weren't for Luo Qingtong's blood eyes and the blood-colored shadow Yin Corpses and Beast Tamer King Gu Guju's group restraining each other, they would have formed a delicate balance. She would have already suffered a calamity. Just as Beast Tamer King Gu Guju and the others could think that Luo Qingtong's blood eyes couldn't last long, Yun Shi could also think of this point. Her palms were sweaty from the pinching. Luo Qingtong had saved her several times and always kept her by her side to protect her. Although Luo Qingtong didn't think much of it, Yun Shi was very grateful to her. Without Luo Qingtong with her strength, she definitely wouldn't be able to survive. Now that she saw Luo Qingtong in danger, she was naturally very worried. If possible, she didn't want something bad to happen to Luo Qingtong. But she didn't have any ability. She didn't have any strength. Just as Yun Shi was feeling anxious and uncomfortable, Little Pig's voice suddenly rang in her ear. Yun Shi was taken aback for a moment. Are you willing? Little Pig hated that he couldn't immediately capture Yun Shi and bring her to Luo Qingtong so that she could inherit the beast mark inheritance. In any case, this person was saved by Luo Qingtong. Letting her inherit the beast mark inheritance was better than letting those people from Beast Tamer King's Valley take advantage of it. Moreover, Luo Qingtong had to rely on the beast mark inheritance to get out of danger. Naturally, it couldn't fall into the hands of others. Fortunately, Luo Qingtong protected this girl. Otherwise, if Luo Qingtong couldn't inherit the beast mark inheritance, it would be troublesome. Little Pig rejoiced in his heart. However, he didn't act impulsively. Chapter 2096. Partner? Me. Yunshi murmured. She looked at Luo Qingtong, who was dodging the attacks of Beast Tamer King Guguju and the Yin Corpse Beast, and nodded her head. I'm willing. She was naturally willing to become Luo Qingtong's subordinate and partner. Being able to stand together with this girl, the life she would be able to enjoy in the future would definitely be exciting and magnificent, right? Not to mention the reason she was still standing here was all thanks to Luo Qingtong. Okay. After Little Pig said this, he nodded his head and said to Yunshi, then you should make the vow right now. No matter what, I won't attack my master or the people around her in the future. Since he was going to give the inheritance to Yunshi, Little Pig naturally had to guarantee that she wouldn't harm Luo Qingtong or the people around her in the future. Otherwise, if he taught an ingrate, it would be even more disgusting than giving the inheritance to someone from Beast Tamer King's Valley. Little Pig naturally had to put an end to this. Okay. Yunshi made the vow without hesitation. At this moment, the situation on Luo Qingtong's side became even more critical. After she made the vow, Little Pig immediately had the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet bring her to Luo Qingtong. That was why the scene above happened. Yunshi? Luo Qingtong looked at the Great Yong Saint's corpse puppet rushing to her and didn't say anything. She directly raised her hand and poured the golden light in her hand into Yunshi's forehead. Yunshi was the only person she could entrust the inheritance of the beast mark to. When she heard Little Pig's voice, she already thought of Yunshi and was about to rush over. She didn't expect Hum to send her over. Whoosh! Luo Qingtong pressed the golden light between Yunshi's eyebrows. Before the latter could react, the golden light entered her mind. Buzz! Many things instantly appeared in Yunshi's mind. That was the inheritance of the Zhuge 13 beast seal's usage and cultivation experience. When the golden light of the beast mark inheritance entered between Yunshi's eyebrows, Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others, who had just escaped the attacks of the Yin Corpse beasts and Yin corpses, were instantly enraged. Not good. Damn it, how could they forget about this girl? Seeing the golden light flickering between Yunshi's eyebrows, the Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others almost fainted from anger. Previously, Yunshi and Little Pig, the corpse puppet of the Great Yong Saint, had been standing in a corner, completely inconspicuous. After Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others rushed out from the depths of the cave, their attention was always on Luo Qingtong. They were furious with Luo Qingtong. She had completely forgotten that there was a weak girl by her side. If it had been before, even if they had discovered Yunshi, they would have been dismissive. After all, what was the use of such a weak girl? They could casually crush her to death with a finger. She wouldn't be a threat to them at all. But this time it was different. Luo Qingtong couldn't accept the golden light inheritance. As long as they dragged it on, that thing would definitely belong to them. But now, all of this was destroyed by the girl by Luo Qingtong's side. If there was someone by Luo Qingtong's side who could inherit the beast mark inheritance, what could they do? Drag Luo Qingtong to death? It would be good enough if they weren't the ones killed. Chapter 2097. Quick. Let's go. At first, they wanted to rush forward and kill Yunshi with all their might. In this way, wouldn't the beast mark inheritance become an ownerless object again? They didn't believe that Luo Qingtong's strange ability could protect herself and the weak girl from their hands. However, as soon as they thought of this, they felt gusts of chilly wind coming from behind them. Quick. Let's go. The Beast Tamer King Guguju's voice was hoarse. He turned around and saw that the 4 Yin Corpse beasts who were about to rush toward Luo Qingtong after they got rid of them, suddenly turned around and rushed toward them. And so did Zhuge Shirsan's Yin Corpse. The Beast Tamer King Guguju and the others had already tasted the power of the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and Zhuge Shirsan's Yin Corpse in the depths of the cave. If the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin Corpse hadn't been staring at Luo Qingtong and ignored them, they wouldn't have dared to stay and snatch the golden light inheritance from Luo Qingtong's hands. Obviously, after Yunshi inherited the golden light inheritance and obtained the beast mark, the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin Corpse began to protect her. This was indeed the case. Zhuge Shirsan wanted the person who obtained his inheritance to bring the universal beast-taming spell back to the Zhuge family. Naturally, he wouldn't allow anyone to harm his successor. Before the other party obtained the inheritance, he didn't care how they injured or killed him. But after obtaining the inheritance, he wouldn't allow anyone to snatch it. Because the beast mark could only be passed on once, it could only be passed on to someone like him, who had cultivated to a certain level and was very familiar with the universal beast-taming spell. If he allowed someone to kill his successor, how could his beast-taming spell be sent back to the family? Therefore, before he died, he had already taken care of his body and the bodies of the 4 contracted beasts. He wanted to ensure that his successor wouldn't be coveted and hunted after obtaining his beast mark inheritance. Roar! After Yunshi received the golden light, the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse immediately turned around and rushed toward beast tamer King Guguju and the others. They could sense the murderous intent of the other party towards Yunshi, so they naturally wanted to kill him to prevent him from harming Yunshi. As for beast tamer King Guguju and the others, when they saw the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses charging over, their hearts were filled with shock and anger, but there was nothing else they could do. Under the protection of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Yin corpses, it was impossible for them to harm Luo Qingtong and Yunshi. He might even be killed by the other party. Seeing that Yunshi had already opened her eyes and was beginning to command the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses to work together with them, beast tamer King Guguju and the others did not dare to stay any longer. Even if they hated him so much that their blood was about to drip, they could only grit their teeth and leave. After all, although the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpse were strong, they were still fighting for themselves. But now, under Yunshi's command, they had begun to cooperate with each other. In this way the combat power of the 5 beasts suddenly soared. How could beast tamer King Guguju and the others be a match for them? Not to mention that there was also Luo Qingtong the evildoer here. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's magical ability that seemed to be able to see through their movements, beast tamer King Guguju and the others felt a chill in their hearts. Chapter 2098. Everyone shuddered at the thought. Then they hurriedly rushed towards the entrance of the cave. However, whatever they could think of, Luo Qingtong could naturally think of as well. Seeing that the 4 Yin corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin corpse all turned and rushed toward the beast tamer King Guguju and the others, Luo Qingtong sneered. The beast mark inheritance, as she had thought, could dispel the attacks from the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses. The man called Zhuge Shursan would not allow his successor to be threatened. Then they would play slowly. Can position. Seeing that Yunshi had not only dispelled the attacks of the 4 Yin corpse beasts and the Yin corpses, but could even control their movements, Luo Qingtong's lips suddenly curled into an evil and cold smile. She had always been the most vengeful person. Didn't the beast tamer King Guguju and the others have fun besieging her just now? She would make them feel even better in a while. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent, and her eyes were cold. And Yunshi, the moment Luo Qingtong opened her mouth, she had already understood her intention, and immediately commanded a Yin corpse beast to jump to the position Luo Qingtong had said. There happened to be a high-level member of the Beast Tamer King Valley there, and it was none other than the person who had fought with Luo Qingtong several times before. In the Beast Tamer King Valley, he had almost used the superior Orchid Sirius to expose Su Yu and the others. It was because he had brought the superior Orchid Sirius that a series of events had happened. Fang Jingyu's contracted beasts had rioted, and then Luo Qingtong had pretended to expose her beast tamer talent. After that, she had entered the beast garden and finally obtained the whereabouts of the book. She had taken the opportunity to enter the forbidden area of the Beast Tamer King Valley and read the holy book. Speaking of which, Luo Qingtong had to thank him. If it weren't for his mistake, Luo Qingtong might not have found the whereabouts of the holy book. Not to mention the news of Luo Jinghong. At this moment, she would naturally thank him properly. Roar! When the Yin corpse beast jumped over, the Grand Elder just happened to attack another Yin corpse beast on the side. Just as he blasted out this move, the Yin corpse beast jumped in front of him. At this moment he had no time to counterattack, let alone block it. Ah! With a blood-curdling scream, the Supreme Elder's figure instantly disappeared into the mouth of the Yin corpse beast. His upper body was being chewed by the Yin corpse beast, while his lower body was still standing in place. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. There were so many people in the Beast Tamer King's Valley, but they were either in the middle of attacking or had just finished using their moves. The chi in their bodies had yet to be regenerated. There were so many people, yet not a single one of them managed to save him in time. His grasp of timing was simply terrifying. Supreme Elder. Seeing this, the Beast Tamer King Guguju's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. His eyes were wide open. His eye sockets looked as if they were about to burst open, as they were slightly bloodshot. He clenched his teeth so hard that his mouth was full of blood. Bitch. The Beast Tamer King Guguju looked at Luo Qingtong with resentment. He was joining forces with the Dark Elder and others to resist the Yin corpse beast of Zhuge Shursan. Who would have thought that when he turned around he would see the Supreme Elder die so miserably? The girl just glanced at him indifferently and continued to give orders to Yunshi. Gung position. Heaven position. Chapter 2099. It was already hard for them to defend against the attacks of the Yin Corpse beasts and Yin corpses. At this moment, under Luo Qingtong's command and guidance, the attacks of the Yin Corpse beasts and Yin corpses were even harder to defend against. Not to mention anything else, when faced with the attacks of the Yin Corpse beasts and Yin corpses, it was impossible for them to not fight back at all, right? But under Luo Qingtong's guidance, their counterattack, which was meant to resist and survive, became their own death sentence. After each attack was launched, there would always be a moment when the old energy was released, before the new energy could be generated. At the same time, it was very hard to change moves. Originally, with the strength of the beast-taming King's Valley's higher-ups, this moment was just a moment, it would not affect their following attacks and movements. But at this moment, under Luo Qingtong's blood-red eyes, this moment of stagnation and the time when the old energy and new energy were exchanged became their fatal flaw. Others would not be able to seize this moment. It was even more impossible for them to successfully kill each other with so many people guarding against each other. But Luo Qingtong could. Under her guidance, those beast-taming King's Valley people did not make a move. Once they made a move, there was a chance that the girl would seize the opportunity and order the Yin Corpse beasts and Yin corpses to kill them. Every time Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, a beast-taming King's Valley high-ups would die with a blood-curdling scream. The girl's clear and melodious voice in their ears was like the voice of the King of Hell taking their lives. It was as terrifying as the voice of the King of Hell. In this kind of situation, beast-taming King Guguju and the others did not even talk about running out of the cave. Even taking a step forward was extremely dangerous. From here to the cave entrance, it was clearly only a few dozen meters away. If it was a normal time, they would have rushed out in a flash. But at this moment, under Luo Qingtong's clear and melodious voice, it was as if they were walking on a road of no return to the Yellow Springs. They were afraid that before they could reach the cave entrance, they would all die here. Beast-tamer King Guguju was shocked, while Luo Qingtong took the opportunity to kill the main body of the blood-colored figure. Without anyone's interference, Luo Qingtong rushed to the place where the giant crimson figure's body was and destroyed it. The process was simply too smooth. This also saved Yunshi the trouble of having to deal with this giant blood-colored figure while controlling the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and Zhuge Shursan's Yin Corpse to kill the people of the beast-taming King's Valley. This would give the people of the beast-taming King's Valley a chance to escape. Today she was going to kill everyone from the beast-taming King's Valley. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold. Her sword turned into a blade and stabbed into the ground where the giant bloody figure was, shattering the giant bloody immortal jade bone. Bang! When Luo Qingtong's sword slammed into the ground, the gigantic blood-red figure suddenly felt a huge threat descending upon it. It turned out that the girl had already seen through the location of its main body, and was only waiting to kill it with one strike. After a shrill cry, the giant bloody figure rushed toward Luo Qingtong at lightning speed, almost berserk. However, it was already too late. Luo Qingtong directly pierced through its main body with her sword. When the blood-colored immortal jade bone buried deep underground crumbled, the giant blood-colored figure also exploded in midair. It did not even have time to touch Luo Qingtong before it exploded into blood under Luo Qingtong's sword. Chapter 2100. Luo Qingtong's eyes were indifferent as she looked coldly at the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others who were trapped in the cave by the Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin corpses. The latter and the others were also attracted by the sudden explosion of the gigantic blood-red figure. They raised their heads and looked over. With this look, their hearts became even more terrified. Luo Qingtong had already killed the giant crimson figure. Then wouldn't she be able to deal with them with all her strength? Seeing that the cave entrance was close at hand, they couldn't break through the encirclement of the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin corpses. Deep despair surged in the hearts of the beast-tamer King Guguju and the others. But soon, the eyes of the beast-tamer King Guguju were dyed with deep fierceness and viciousness. Celestial Palace Master, you people of Celestial Palace said that you would help our beast-tamer King's Valley. Now please help us to the end. Help us to the end. His face was malevolent and twisted as he looked at the pale and frightened master of Celestial Palace beside him. The latter and the others had been hiding behind the people of beast-tamer King's Valley. Facing the 4 Yin Corpse beasts and the Yin corpses, the people of Celestial Palace were only from a second-class sect. The strongest among them was only in the Holy Spirit realm. Since the awakening of the 4 corpse beasts and the corpses, they had been hiding behind the people of Beast Tamer King's Valley with pale and frightened faces. Fortunately, the 4 corpse beasts and the corpses had locked onto the powerful people of Beast Tamer King's Valley first, so they could barely escape. Hearing the words of the Beast Tamer King Guguju, the hearts of the Celestial Palace Master and the others were filled with indescribable fear. Looking at the malevolent face of the Beast Tamer King Guguju, they couldn't help but ask in a stern voice, "Beast Tamer King Guguju, what do you mean by this?" The voice of the Celestial Palace Master was sharp and resounding. "We from Celestial Palace are here to help you guys from Beast Taming King's Valley. What are you trying to do?" The Master of Celestial Palace felt an indescribable fear. He didn't know why, but he felt that Beast Tamer King Guguju's words weren't as simple as they seemed. It was as if he wanted to do something to the people of Celestial Palace. Beast Tamer King Guguju's following words confirmed his thoughts. "What do you want?" The Beast Tamer King Guguju's expression was sinister and fierce. "Naturally, I'm borrowing your lives. Celestial Palace Master, since you came to help our Beast Taming King's Valley, I'm sure you won't be stingy, right?" Beast Tamer King Guguju sneered. To help them? The words of the Master of Celestial Palace were simply ridiculous. Wasn't it because they promised benefits that the people of Celestial Palace agreed to help? What's more, from the moment they faced the giant blood shadow outside, the people of Celestial Palace weren't of any use. Not to mention when they faced the 4 corpse beasts and the corpse. It was the people of Beast Taming King's Valley who stood at the front and gave them a chance to live. Now it was time for them to pay back their lives. Beast Tamer King Guguju thought about it and suddenly smiled sinisterly. He then said to his subordinates of Beast Taming King's Valley, "Throw them out for me. Let them block the 4 corpse beasts and Zhuge Shirsan's corpse." Although the people of Celestial Palace weren't strong enough to deal with the 4 corpse beasts and the corpse. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.